Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Rockets. This episode's a little different than normal. Today I sit down with Manny from the Goody Vault to talk about the idea of taking the risk. Thank you so much for being here and talking with me. Can you introduce yourself for those who haven't heard your episode I did a couple months ago and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Awesome. Again, my name is Emanuel Edwards. I am the owner and the curator of the Goody Vault, located here downtown Huntsville in the Clinton Road Shops, specializing in vintage militaria, vintage workwear, vintage sportswear, and whatever else I want to put in here.
So we're talking about the idea of like taking the risk, and I know we talk a lot about the risk that we take, and just like you with having your 9-to-5 job and doing this. How has the last few months been for the Goody Vault, and how has COVID kind of changed of how you kind of work and do the Goody Vault and do other work?
A lot has changed, to be honest. I would have never imagined this type of environment right now that we're in. But to my surprise, thinking back to when COVID initially started, like in March, and how it kind of progressed, we did our interview in like July.
Mm-hmm.
June was actually my best month.
Oh, wow.
This whole year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, what the heck? So it's kind of a surprise to me to watch the business actually grow and get the support from the community during COVID. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's really grown.
So I know when we did that episode in June, you had a 9-to-5 job,
Yeah.
and you were working 9-to-5 doing that. You were doing this on the side. You were kind of coming here on breaks to meet people, to showcase some of the stuff. Weekends were a big part of what you were spent here.
Yeah.
Is that still the case for you right now, or has anything kind of changed with your 9-to-5 job and with the Goody Vault?
So this is Beyond Rockets exclusive information right now. Yeah, I recently just submitted my resignation letter for to my employer. So I'm going to be doing this Goody Vault work full time. I can't believe I'm doing that,
Yeah.
So but it's one of those things where I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been going back and forth trying to plan things, and now it's time to take the risk, and I'm ready to dive in. I've been thinking about this for a while, so now I've planned as much as I can plan for. At some point, you got to make the jump.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now. Again, I'm super grateful for the support, and watching the business grow, and I'm ready just to scale it up some more.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Like that's like it's a crazy thing to me, because like I think like you said, it was just it's an unreal thing to even think about. I think it's different when you're thinking about it in your head to actually doing it, to then actually saying that you're going to do it, to then now and next week being like your last week of a typical 9-to-5 job. You're going to be doing this full time. Like that's just like could you have imagined when you started this? Because I mean, the Goody Vault's only been around for.
Yeah, I've been around since 2018,
Okay.
but I've been in Clinton Road Shop since October of 2019. So.
Okay. So, like, did you ever, I mean, I guess the goal of starting it to begin with was always to do it full time. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, that was always the goal. But did you imagine that it would be as quickly as it was, or did you thought it was going to be even quicker?
I didn't think it would happen this fast, to be honest. It's one of those things where COVID really, I think, not only myself, but a lot of other people, now we've had time to really reflect, to evaluate things, to think about life, to really have time to sit and think about those goals, that we have.
Yeah.
And life is short, it's been unfortunate. So many people lost their lives.
Yeah.
So now you begin to think, for me, I started thinking about all these things like, okay, hey, look, you got to do what you really want to do.
Yeah.
This has always been a goal of mine. It's never going to be a perfect time to take the leap,
Yeah. I mean, it's never an easy thing to do.
No.
But it's always something that, like, I think even personally, like doing the podcast to doing the marketing that I do now, and like actually having a company behind it now,
Yeah.
it's like I never would have imagined I'd be like, it's always every step along the way, like every like new jump or new frontier, like you had to have no idea what you're doing, is kind of like the next, like, okay, like I'm learning so much here, and like I'm enjoying it. Like it doesn't even feel like work at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the risk it's hard, but it's also like, I don't know, it's kind of a fun thing for me.
No, I'm hyped. I'm hyped
Yeah.
right now. But I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited. I'm like super like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's a little more pressure
Yeah.
It's a little more heightened. Like it's a little heightened now.
I guess
it's like a little real now.
I guess like it's like if you're doing it on the side, like people expect you to do like have like a level of expertise.
Yeah.
But they also understand that you do have a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But now that you don't have a 9 to 5 and you're doing this full time, the level of expectation is even higher for you.
It's gone up. It's gone up.
Is it gone up for you personally, or is that just like, or do you think it's gone up for other people looking inward on you?
It's really about me.
It's just personally, like you expect yourself to do 10 times better, or 10 times better in every aspect of the business, in curating and everything.
Yeah, I mean, now it's no excuse. This is where my time is going to be spent now.
Yeah.
So I mean, the more time you spend doing something, the more fluid you should become at something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this was the goal.
Yeah.
And you have to put the time in. That's kind of where I was going with my business. I got to a point where it's like, man, I can't really get any higher than this unless I dedicate more time.
Yeah.
And eventually, I don't want to lose this momentum and everything that I've built up this far. So I want to just keep it going.
I mean, I know like timing of COVID isn't really been good for anybody. But do you think that if COVID didn't happen, you would still be doing this full time coming up in the first of the year?
Probably not. COVID, I don't know, man. Just having that time.
Yeah.
And the people around me, close to me, that have encouraged me, as well, because it's important to have those people that encourage you, that don't discourage you and deter you from something that you want to do. And it's a lot of self-talk. You got to talk to yourself.
You got to boost your own confidence.
You have to boost yourself.
I bet the nights get long in here. I mean, like you've had the success that I've seen from the outskirts, and like knowing you personally since we've done the episode in June. I mean, you've had a lot of your success has grown quickly in the last 6 months. But it's also like, I see you in here at midnight, 1 o'clock. I mean, you're grinding, and now it's like, does it feel like, I don't know, it seems like a surreal thing from the outskirts that like he's doing this full time now.
Yeah,
like,
it's I mean, think about when we first met and how things have progressed since then.
I mean, how is this
even for you?
Yeah, how the vault has progressed?
Yeah,
I mean
it's opened up.
Yeah,
and this is all during COVID.
Yeah, I think that's like, even though like the last year has been the most, I don't know, it's been a difficult year for most people.
Yeah.
And in any business, in any aspect you can think of, it's been a difficult year. But like personally for the two of us, I mean, a lot's come out of this year.
A lot.
A lot when you're expected to not do a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, like people I think expect you to just kind of curl up and cry. But then you kind of have this, no, I'm just going to do it.
The thing is, like, in times of adversity, so many opportunities present themselves.
Yeah.
Crazy timing, like right now, but you either take advantage of it or you just kind of let it go. But you don't know when that other opportunity is going to come again, where you're going to have the drive, where you're going to have the energy and the support. It has a
and
time on it.
Do you think you mentioned the momentum, just like how much momentum you've been able to get since we even did the episode? Like the walls have come down, and here you've expanded the Goody Vault. I mean, the Goody Vault itself has expanded physically, and as well as like on social media. I mean, everything's expanded. Do you think if you didn't have as much momentum, you would still be as willing to take the risk? Or do you think there's a lot of things that just combined with each other make it, like, just open up your head and you're like, I am ready to do this?
I think it's a mixture of everything, but definitely when you see the momentum building,
you don't want to let it stop.
You don't want to let it stop.
No.
To do that, it all goes back to like, how do you view yourself? What's important to you?
Yeah.
And dude, this is important to me, and taking this risk right now, dude, it's actually making me feel better about myself as a person.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like, you're taking a risk, you're really taking a bet on yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's not like you weren't happy doing the job you were doing.
No.
Like you liked your 9 to 5 job, you enjoyed it, you enjoyed doing this.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, like you said, you've had the last year where you've had more time to think.
Yeah.
I think it's what most people. I mean, the things I've read, it's like there's been more businesses opening up with new LLCs this year than any other year, because people are sitting around thinking like, hey, I lost my job doing this, but I've always wanted to do this. So they've had time to say, okay, like, I'm taking the risk personally, financially. I mean, like, it's not just like taking the risk of quitting your job. It's taking the risk of losing security. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like the thing that people most I've heard and like I think about too is just the risk of uncertainty and the risk of just financial risk and I mean, there's a lot of different risks. I mean,
Yeah.
health benefits. I mean, there is so much.
It's a lot.
But like, I often like whenever I get to the point that I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take the next step. Like, what's the next step in this business? What's the next step with the podcast? The Beyond Rockets brand. Like, what is the next step? And it's always just like, I often don't think of the 12 risks that might go along with it. I think of like the one most obvious risk and think, that's not that big of a risk. But then, like, I think if you think of the 12 risks that go along with it, you would most likely not do it.
It's like it's always going to be risk involved.
Oh, always.
But anybody that's done something amazing or made huge contributions or created something that has innovated whatever it is, they took a risk,
Yeah.
you know? And it's terrifying. You know, like you said, it's a serious thing when you think about health benefits.
Yeah.
You think about retirement, all this kind of
Everything.
stuff. You're really taking the bet on yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. I mean, do you
it's
think
opportunity for growth?
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, do you think that I mean, like, it's always like a what if kind of scenario, but what if before you even started getting the job you have now or finishing your school or finishing your master's or whatever it might have been, and you would have started the Goody Vault? Do you think you would have ever done what you were doing up until next week? Or do you think you would have just done the Goody Vault forever? Like, it would have been just kind of like the thing. Like, say you're in college and you have this idea. I want to start the Goody Vault. I'm like, you might even had the idea in college, but you just never really talked about it. You never really did anything about it. But what if you would have taken the risk then and said, I'm going to jump in and do this now? It would have had the success it's had. Would you have even thought of it as a risk if you didn't already have everything else? If you would have started this full time? Or would it still be a risk?
I think it still would have been a risk, but even thinking about that, dude, there's no way I would have been ready mentally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about, you know, my job, everything I learned working my 9 to 5, the interpersonal relationships, financial responsibility, and just learning humility, just living life. You know what I'm saying? Life will humble you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think
the timing you think was just perfect?
It's timing, dude. Timing. I'm at the right age right now. You know, more mature. I appreciate certain things. My outlook is different, you know? So it's like we can be hard on ourselves, but in all actuality, you weren't ready then. You know what I mean? I wasn't ready then. Now it's like, dude, I kind of understand it because, you know, I heard it before, you know, God will never put you somewhere where he can't, like, trust you to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I kind of paraphrase that. But if your character and your development has not reached a certain point, God can't put you somewhere because you're going to just destroy it. You're going to jack up everything.
Everything has to happen at a certain point in a certain timeline. Like, you don't know that timeline, which I think is like, it's I mean, if you think about it, like, if I think about that right now, like, that's kind of scary. You don't know the timeline. But I think also, like, it's a part of, like, the enjoyment in the process.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing because, you know, my biggest thought, and I'm sure you can probably relate, I think about when I'm like 75, if God blesses me to live that long. How am I going to feel? What kind of stories am I going to be able to share? What kind of experience am I going to be able to, like, kind of daydream about and laugh about with my friends? You know, like,
the lessons you've learned.
You know what I mean? I want to have things that I personally, like, who I am, things that I did that I want to do, you know? Yeah. Those are the kind of experiences I want to reflect on.
Yeah, and, like, I think that's the same thing for me. Yeah. But, like, we're both at different points in our life too. I mean, age, everything. Yeah. Like, I am finishing up college right now. I have one more semester.
Congratulations.
I mean, like, it's a crazy thing. I would, if you would have told me in high school I would have gone to college, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But, like, I'm getting a degree. Yeah. Like, if everything works out, I'll get a degree. You're but, like, it's also like, I mean, I've started the podcast probably a year and a half ago, maybe. In the last 6-8 months, I started marketing for people. Which is kind of like, it's like, I mean, that's what I'm going to school for. That's what the experience is for school. So it's just like, okay, let me see if I can help these small business owners that I know, that I love. I love the small business community. And, like, let me see if I can help them. And then, like, I've had companies and businesses risk it on me. Like, they've taken the risk on me. I think back of, like, when I got the first client, and you're like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. Yeah. Like, that's the scary thing.
Because it like, makes you step up.
Yeah, and you're like, I can do it. Like, you kind of, like, bow your chest. You're like, I got this.
Let's go.
And then, like, you, like, grind. I mean, I had one for the longest time. longest time. I had 2 for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
I had 3. I had 4. I mean, like, and then it's just like momentum. Like, I think since we've talked in like June or July, it's like it's been nonstop.
And that's a great
and like
thing,
the thought in my head is, can I keep up this momentum? And is the momentum that I'm building, is it going to be like, should I jump in full time when I graduate? That's the biggest question.
Yeah.
I mean, like, question mark, like, if you, like, the biggest question that I have in the next 6 months is, do I do this full time?
And I think the biggest thing is you think about everybody else that's involved right now.
Oh, yeah.
You taking this risk, me taking this risk. How is this impacting everybody
our
around
family
me?
that we know? And like, I get married in May.
Yeah.
And that's like that. And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, my fiance would love for me to do this full time. She knows that like this is where my passion is, and she knows the momentum has gotten. But it's also like in my head, I'm like, I have to be able to like put food on the table.
Yeah.
And it's also and like you have that like my biggest thing, and I've heard like one of my buddies have told me is the 2 biggest things you spend most of your life doing is sleeping and working. So you might as well have a job you enjoy and a bed you like to sleep on.
That's
and that's it.
Fact.
That's it.
Fact.
So it's like, if I'm going to, like, yes, I'm 21 years old, but I mean, momentum.
Yeah.
Like the risk is there. It's evident. Like even though that I am young, the risk is still there that if I do this full time, there is still a risk.
The question is, if not now, then when?
Yeah. And they're like, if me not doing this now, will I ever do this again? Like, and I don't think neither one of us started we never start something like a business, a career, anything to have someone else run it for you. The goal is not to start this. The goal for you, the goal for me was not to start the Goody Vault and Beyond Rockets to have someone else run it for us. It's not just to say, let me get this as big as I can and say someone else can run this and it's their responsibility. Our goal and our dream is to run this on a day-to-day thing. And that's what you're getting ready to do.
Yeah, that's
You're getting ready to do it on a day-to-day. Like, have you had people on the way help? Yes. Have I had people on the way help? Yes. But I don't know. Like, do we hope that it gets to the point one day that we're having people that we have underneath us, like employees? Yes.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be a part of it. It's still yours.
Yeah, it's hard to detach from something that you've kind of nursed and brought up and raised. But at the same time, as I mature and I'm thinking, you have to collaborate with people.
Oh, you have to.
You have to have those key relationships that can help scale you up, and it helps it helps them. It's a mutual benefit
because it's like, I mean, I pour into the people that I've had on the podcast, people like you, people like JP, people like Pat Sammy's Offbeat. Like, I pour into them and they pour into me, and just being able to like help in any way possible, being able to say, hey, I have this, I'm dealing with this in the business. Did you ever deal with this? Now, how did you solve this? What was your best approach to something? I mean, I'm doing giveaways right now, and it's like I've not really done those. So I asked people that I know that have been successful doing it. What would you suggest? How would you phrase this? How would you do this? What is the best results you've gotten? Because it's like, I don't know everything. I really don't. And I don't think I ever want to know everything, because if I do, then I'm not continuously learning.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many ins and outs. You have to rely on the community. You know, you mentioned Offbeat. I mean, all these relationships are essential because it's a huge community.
Yeah.
You can't like
it's a tight-knit community too.
Tight-knit,
That's the thing. It's like being in the small business. I put quotations around it for me myself, because like I still don't think of it's real.
No, it's
but
like
but like it's like it's a small community, but it is becoming a very big community, especially in Huntsville itself. People are taking the risk. People are taking the risk in their 9-to-5s, and they're making that side hustle now their full-time gig. I mean, I know tons of people that said, hey, like, this side thing that I've been doing has kind of gotten bigger.
Yeah.
Like, what if I just gave it a shot and gave it a year, gave it 2 years?
I mean, the people that win big are the ones that say, hey, I'm going to go all in.
I'm going to risk it all.
I'm going to risk it all, you know. That's the only way you'll know if you really have something or not.
Yeah. And like I said, the timing's impeccable. Like, I was thinking on the way here, I was like thinking through my head of how I was going to structure this podcast, and like what I was going to say and what kind of questions I was going to ask. And I was like thinking myself through like my journey with Beyond Rockets and then where I am now. And like, I think back to within the first 3 months of me starting the podcast, I was like, I'm going to get merch. People are going to love merch.
Yeah, they're going to love it.
And like, friends and family bought it. Like, that's great. But like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I was definitely not at that point at that time to get merch. Like, I think I have always subconsciously thought of what I'm doing as being bigger than it was at the time it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think without doing that, it wouldn't be as big as it is today.
No, you have to visualize. You have to see it. You have to project like exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to work on that. Like I want to be really specific as far as how I want the Goody Vault to look.
Yeah.
I want to be like 10 years from now. I want to be like really specific. Like what kind of carpets I'm gonna have.
Everything.
The deck. Everything.
I mean, the details is what like most people don't understand the details or will notice the details, but it makes the whole experience just that much better.
Exactly. And then you appreciate it. Like you appreciate what you've been able to create.
Yeah.
You've been thinking. It's not like you're just doing this off a whim. No, this is like something that you've thought about. I've thought about all this stuff in here. I've been dreaming about. I've been thinking about. And now to see it come to life, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
This
like,
is, I mean, it's like how much you have to dream bigger now. It's like, dude, I got to keep pushing, like go all the way out.
I think it's important to like project and like envision what you want the business to look like in a year or 5 years or whatever. Like, I don't think personally I look much farther than a year.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to look at that year and look what you want that year to look like from now relatively often. But I also think it's really important to not forget where you are right now.
Definitely.
Because if you don't bring back into perspective like where am I at right now? Okay, now here's my end goal and here's where I'm at. Now how can I get there through a series of steps? I mean, it's a board game you're playing.
For sure.
Life. You're playing the board game life, whatever. But like you're going through these things and you're like, okay, you might hit a couple bumps. Like you might lose this, you might have a bad month, whatever. Now, how can I continue to keep consistency with internally what I'm doing behind the scenes? I mean, sometimes the biggest thing is like I think I read something somewhere. Oh, it was a meeting with Jeff Bezos, and he was talking about Amazon's stock like back in the day, and he was saying when he saw this when the stock went down a lot, tons of people sold.
Yeah,
and he's like, what they didn't know is what was going on internally. Like that was the best time for us. That was the best time for you to buy, and that's the best time for this. He's like, when the stock went down, that was the best time for the company, because what was going on internally was much bigger than what people were seeing on the outskirts.
It was setting them up for a much bigger
yeah.
success. Yeah.
So it's like obviously people are like, it's hard to buy something, or it's hard to get into something when it's a low point.
Yeah.
But often the lowest points is what the internally is getting done that's going to blow up.
So we can say that about COVID. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
How it's a low point.
It's the lowest point.
Yes, it's like sad, but it's so many opportunities and like.
I mean, has it been? It's the amount of people that I talk to in the restaurant business, any small business owner, and like the amount, not even just small businesses, like any sorts of businesses right now are struggling. But it's also like, it's hard sometimes to continue to fight on the inside and continue to build when everything seems low. But often when you are able to kind of assess things, I think that's really how this last year has been. Yeah. It was such a low point for everybody. But you're able to really kind of dive in on little things that you weren't really like, I was doing this right. But if I did it this way a little bit better, or fixed the way I did this, then maybe it becomes better. And like it's a slow, but their momentum in the last 6 months has been insane. I think that's just like a constant grind and a constant self-reflection on what you're doing, what your goals are, and making sure you're in the right headspace.
No,
I think
it's necessary. The reflection piece is like, it's huge. You have to reflect, and I'm trying to work on that and do that more, because if you reflect, you can kind of really kind of analyze those lessons learned. Yeah. And then appreciate everything that you've already done. Because sometimes, I know for myself, moving so fast, I don't take the time to really appreciate everything that's already happened. Even giving myself a pat on the back. Like, dude.
Like, you did a good job.
You did a really good job. Like, slow down for a second.
Hold on a second.
You did a lot. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. It's like you're moving, I think, even though like it seems like the last year has flown by, there was a lot of points where it was just really slow. Like months seemed they were just drawn on. And I think over the last 6 months, pace has kind of picked up for everybody. But I think also like you have to realize that you need to slow down sometimes too.
No, definitely.
I mean, it's not, and that goes back to like the risk, and that goes back to just the timing. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to get in line for you to even like, I don't know, like you can be moving so fast that you just are unaware of the little things.
Well, this is forced, this whole pandemic has forced everybody to slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down, you know.
I mean,
it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's been a terrible time for everybody emotionally. We've all been drained. Physically, we've gained weight. We're all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But it's good to slow down because now we can kind of bounce back stronger and kind of focus on those things that are really important now. You know, and I know that for me, this is important for me. I don't know how the Goody Vault is going to impact Huntsville, North Alabama, USA, the world. I have no idea, but I know I'm beginning a journey that's like, it's full of opportunities, and who I am is now really getting to come out, you know?
I mean, like you said, like you're going to have more time to do what you love. And it's like, I often I work late doing things, or I work all the time doing things, or I'll be at places that I do work with that I'm still trying to work, even though I'm there to like enjoy it. And I have to think sometimes like every day isn't like I'm out with family. I need to not try to work or not try to do this really quickly or take a picture of this and share this with this cool caption I just came up with. You know, like I just like you have to realize that like sometimes it's okay to step back and take it slow and just not work all the time.
It's like the boundaries, bro. And my girlfriend tells me that like, hey, you're working all the time. I'm like, oh, I am.
But like I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like, you know, but it's like those boundaries. So even like I'm trying to learn, you know, really how to set those boundaries so I can really enjoy the time when it's time to relax, when it's time to enjoy family and friends.
You're ready.
You're ready to do it.
Yeah.
And you're fully engaged. You know, you're not giving like part of your brain to, you know, you can't do it. You can't do anything like that, you know.
So like so kind of going back to like the momentum and just you finally now taking that risk to say I'm not going to have my 9 to 5, I'm going to be going right into this full time. Have you had the support with your family and friends to do this? And do you think that the success of the Goody Vault has showed them that you can do this full time? Or do you think they just believe in you itself? Like they believe that you can do this full time, or do they believe in Goody Vault, or do they believe in both?
Mixed bag. I think first, and I told you this on the first podcast, I'm a close hold. I can't tell everybody everything. Yeah. You know? So some people, they're just finding out like, oh, or they don't know.
Yeah.
If you listen to this podcast, you know. But,
you know now.
You know now.
Exclusive.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, most people have been supportive. Some people, we're just talking about family or everybody.
Yeah, family and friends.
For the most part, yeah, of course, family and friends have been supportive. I think a lot of people are like, how are you going to do this?
Yeah,
you know, but
does he understand the risk?
It's not.
No, I understand.
I've thought about this.
I
thought about this.
It's been the last 8 months, a year, I've been thinking about this. Like the goal was never to start this and say I'm just going to do this as a side hustle. It was always to make this a full-time job.
Yeah, it was like, you know, for me, it was like, that was the goal. It was an experiment as well, just to really see what is a small business? What does it entail? How do you do it? You know, there's so much to it, you know?
And there's a lot of things that I think have like that during COVID has kind of emerged to help small businesses. Yeah. I mean, the social media aspect of things, the marketing aspect of things, your ability to reach people that are not only in Huntsville, like you said, but anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Yeah, and how to set yourself apart. Like, you know, what are you going to do to be different? You know, all those things. I've been thinking about all that, you know, but I mean, dude, at some point you have to just do it. Yeah. You're going to keep talking or you're going to do something. Yeah. You know, and I was getting on myself about that, you know, looking at my goals and everything, like, man, are you going to be mad about it, Emanuel, or are you going to do something?
Do you look at your goals often? Or do you?
I mean, I keep them in my planner
all the time.
Yeah, and they're there, man. I look, you know,
like physically you always have them, but mentally you're always thinking about it.
Yeah, because I mean, I glance at them every once in a while.
Yeah,
and just it puts the heat back on you. You know,
it's like, okay, wow, I checked that one off. I didn't even realize it. Yeah, and that's the thing that I was thinking about that or thinking about goals itself. Like, probably in February, I got this like notebook thing, and I've been like, I would write my meetings, I'd write stuff in it. Anytime I go places, I would bring it with me. And like the third page of the book has like a company idea. The top of the company was Beyond Rockets LLC. Yeah. And then there's about half a dozen other things underneath it. Nice. And then fast forward to October, I have Beyond Rockets LLC. Nice. Like I have and like I didn't even compute the two until probably a week or two ago. I was flipping through the book, kind of seeing the last year. So the book's almost full. I've almost filled the book up in the first year of like notes and meetings and stuff. Went back to like third page, Beyond Rockets LLC, and I like looked at it and I was like, Like wrote a little check beside it. I was like, got that. But I don't think personally I look at the goals as often or don't physically look at them. I think mentally I'll think about them a lot, or I'll think about just like what I hope to do, or like but I think there's like always I have these like short bursts where I think about like what if I was able to get this there, or what if I was able to do this way. And I think the perspective and just thinking through it like that, because I'm a very visual learner.
Yeah.
I love writing
Same
things
here.
down. Like one of the biggest things I want to get soon is a whiteboard. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. I tell my fiance, like, we're getting a whiteboard whenever we get a place. We're getting a whiteboard. I want a whiteboard. Because I love being able to just write things out
Write it down.
and visually say, okay, now here's the connections. And like I saw something, a buddy of mine, I went to their like work, and he has a board that has all the connections they've made through
Nice.
business.
Wow.
And has like all their different names and then how they connected to each other. And that was the craziest thing, because then he had people's names, and then they had like a question mark. Like they don't have that
Wow.
person yet, but they understood the connections of how to get that person.
Whoa,
and like that
yeah.
blew my mind, because I was like, when you look at it that way, it seems so easy. But when you're looking at it without writing it down, you're like, this is impossible. Like, how am I
Yeah.
going to get that person? Like, do I just cold email them? I don't know. Or do I know this person that knows this person who's friends with that person that's his uncle? You
What-
know, and like that's kind of like the whoa.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. One way that I think is simplified is whoever you come in contact with, don't be obnoxious about it. But
Yeah.
you tell people about your business,
Tell them what
when
you do.
tell them what you do, and just put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to do that in my business, and, word begins to travel.
Yeah. And like that's the craziest thing is like you have no idea who could see or who could hear about
Yeah.
you.
Agreed.
I mean, at any point in time, that's like whenever I meet somebody and they're like asking me what I do, and I like tell them. First off, they look at me kind of like, "Oh, you really do that? Like, I bet you don't really do well doing it." I was like, and then I like have to like talk them through,
Yeah.
like here's
Yeah.
what I actually do, and like, oh wow, that's actually really cool. You're able to share a business card. You're able to do this. You're able to make the connection, and you don't even like. There's connections I have made way long ago that now it comes back and like, oh, that person told me about you, but then I've been so
Yeah.
busy the last couple months, I haven't been able to, and now I reach back out, and like it's mind blowing. It really is,
Yeah,
because
it
it's
is.
like, I mean, like you said, you got to make sure the perception that people have on what you're doing is what you're actually doing, and that you're able to share about it without being obnoxious, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just like, I know for me, I'm just trying to give people my best.
Yeah, and it's always hard sometimes when you're so passionate about something, because I know personally, like, I try not to talk about it a lot, especially when there's like, I think there's a point in time to talk about what you do.
Yeah.
But I think you can overdo it very easily. But I also think that sometimes I don't give myself credit enough for what I'm actually doing.
Yeah. I mean,
But also, like, I think that's great, because then I'm always trying to be better.
it's good, but I mean, it's good to. At some point,
It's
you
like a little
gotta
pat
sit
on the
down.
back. It's like a little, like,
you
wow.
have to do it. You have to do it, because personally, I'm too hard on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll push you, but you're really taxing yourself.
Yeah.
And you gotta, fill your cup
Yeah.
again. You gotta fill
even
your
if
cup
you,
again.
even if you don't feel like it's going to benefit you to actually say you're doing something well, mentally, that like emotion you're creating is beneficial. Like, you have to tell yourself that you're doing a good job. You have killed it the last month. You have exceeded any expectation that you had for yourself.
You have to do it.
And then you pat yourself on the back, and then you get back to work.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, it's a constant. I know, like, your passion for what you do is evident. I mean, I think that's why it's so exciting, because like in the last probably maybe 2 months, we've talked a lot more.
Yeah.
I come down here quite often. We'll text quite often, and like that's kind of just like we've kind of created this like. I mean, I know about stuff happening way before people that are hearing this. So the Beyond Rockies exclusive for y'all was like 3 weeks ago for me. But I think it's like I am just like amazed to see you doing this at this time. Like, I think like, I mean, like, I tell people, I'm like, yo, the Goody Vault is the place to be. Like, he is killing it. He's doing this
thank
full
you.
time. And they're like, what does he do? What does he do? I'm like, yeah, he has this. He's like, oh, and he's taking the risk. I'm like, yeah, he's taking the risk. Duh. Like, I mean, like, I just like, I'm like, and you have pushed me, because like we'll talk about things that I've done this, or I've applied to this, and you're like, why are you going after this stuff that you don't really want to do?
Yeah.
You have moment, and like the momentum we always talk
momentum,
of
bro.
it. The momentum is just
Yeah.
like, It's a crazy thing, but it's a real thing. And I think like sometimes like I don't realize it. I think it's important to realize the momentum. And I think that's like one of the things that when you sit back and you look on things, look on what you're doing and look on what you're creating. Momentum is everything.
It's everything, man, because, I mean, it's not going to always be there.
Yeah.
And the amount of time, energy, connections it takes to get that.
It's a lot. It's the work that both of us have put in over the last year. I mean, like I said, the timing is everything. The momentum is everything. You know? Yes, COVID was terrible. COVID is terrible, but I don't think neither one of us would be doing what we're doing if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, I mean,
which is a weird thing to think about.
COVID's a wake-up call. COVID is a wake-up call.
Like I'm tired of just settling.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me is just taking a snapshot of my life and just, looking at it and saying, are you satisfied with this? Are you satisfied?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, anything could have happened to me. Anything could have happened to you.
Yeah.
And what if you can't move like you want to?
Yeah.
What if you lose a limb? Anything could happen.
Yeah.
And now you can't do that. So it's like, take the risk.
Take the risk.
Take the risk, or just complain about it and be miserable that you never took the bet on yourself. It's about betting on yourself, really. I mean, you actually build up yourself when you reward yourself with those goals and everything that you have, that you want to achieve. You're feeding yourself, Yeah. And then once you start like developing yourself like that, you can do more. You can be more of an impact because you're taking the risk on you. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard.
What advice would you give to somebody, like if you were to meet somebody that's at the point you were a year ago, or even just somebody that says, I started something in January during COVID. I lost my job. I'm starting this business, I want to open this restaurant or this small business or this coffee shop or whatever. What advice would you give somebody when they hear this and they're saying, oh, he's taking that risk? What advice would you give to them in saying that you can do this too? Or it's even though it seems risky, if that's where you're like, if you know somebody personally into this, they're into what they're doing, what advice would you give them?
I think the first thing I would say is monitor your self-talk. You got to speak better to yourself. Instead of saying I can and all that, start switching that. I messed up, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I have better. I can do better.
Yeah.
I can do better. I'm gonna kill it this next time. You know. So it's like monitoring that self-talk and trying to build yourself up, because waiting for people to be your cheerleader and stuff, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you gotta be your own cheerleader.
You gotta be your own cheerleader, and you gotta stop it when you start talking to yourself like, man, that was so stupid. Da, 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 da. Hey, I made a mistake. I can learn from this. I'm growing. That's the first thing. Monitor your self-talk, and I think a big thing also is writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Just like you writing stuff down in your book. I got books everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm always writing stuff down because it's something about the act of writing stuff down where you can see it.
Yeah, because I think subconsciously, like me writing that down in February, subconsciously I forgot that I had written that down. But I think when that goal you've completed actually happens, your mind's like, I think you wrote that down somewhere, and then you're just kind of like, there it is. Because
you write something down, you're actually putting a physical activity in it. Your brain is taking all this in, all those actions, just reinforcing that thing, whatever it is that you're writing down. Yeah. So I think it's important to write it down and try to look at it. Yeah. You might not do it every day, but once a month, plans. Make sure you see it. Like, look, see my note over there. Stay focused. Yeah. Stay focused. Stay focused. I have to put notes around to talk to myself, to remind myself to stay on course. But writing stuff down is important. And then I'd say that the third thing, have people in your corner that like really want to see you go forward. Yeah. That give you that boost. Like, oh, it's okay. You'll do great the next time. Yeah. Or, hey, that's a great idea. You don't need those people with those side comments. Like, you're doing that again. Yeah.
Everybody's going to have those side comments, but it's important to keep. I think it's important to like realize that people do have like doubts, but also understand that those doubts shouldn't be what you are thinking. Like, I think personally, I like to know that I like to see people's faces when I'm doing what I'm doing, and them being like, they couldn't believe that I did it. Not that they doubted me, but they just are unaware of just how it's become, what it's become. And I think that's kind of like important. Like I said, the corner that you create behind yourself with people should be a small, tight-knit corner. Yeah. It should be a corner of people that are always going to put you in the right perspective, boost you. But then when you do something wrong, they do say, hey, I think you did that a little wrong. It's like, oh, yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I think I should do it this way this time. Oh, I think it'll be way better.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. So with the next year, I mean, this episode's going to come out the last week in December. Last week in 2020, it's going to come out. Looking at 2021 and the Goody Vault and what you're going to be doing, what can people expect to see, and how can they connect with what you're doing and come visit?
Wow. Well, one thing is I'm going to really have more time to source some good stuff. So they can expect some really good stuff, some really amazing pieces that will be online in the showroom. And I've said this before, I don't post everything that's in the showroom online.
Yeah.
It's a reward for those that come.
Come in here and see it.
So if you come, you'll find something that you didn't know was in here.
Do people need to schedule an appointment to come, or can they just show up?
Exactly. Well, I am going to change the hours for 2021, so the hours will change, so I'll have more availability, but everything will still be appointment only.
Okay.
Hey, if you're not serious about it, I don't want you here. If you really enjoy this and you want to get the experience, I want you to come. But it's for people that can appreciate it and that will be inspired by some of this stuff. It takes time to find this stuff. Some of this stuff is really rare. So I want people to come here that really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said you can expect different stuff in here. The setup is going to change to be more of an experience. So I'm just trying to deepen that experience. And other than that, I will have some exclusive things planned for people that have signed my visitor log.
Yeah.
So you signed it, right?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll be inviting people to different things, and it'll be socially distanced if it's in person. If not, we'll do it electronically through Zoom or something like that.
Definitely.
So,
well, that's exciting. I mean, I think this conversation hopefully has given people the ability and the idea in their head that's saying that I can do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I can take the risk that I've been wanting to do. I can create this business and create this idea. And if you haven't listened to the episode with Manny, you should definitely check it out. It came out in June or so, but it's just scroll on down and you can listen to the episode with the Goody Vault and learn more about what he's doing. And it's crazy. I mean, just seeing you'll see pictures of what the vault looks like now compared to what it looked like in June, and it's pretty crazy. So definitely check out him on Instagram at the Goody Vault. And thanks for listening.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you again, Clark, for having me again.
Yeah.